I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor at Gold Derby, here with Mychael Danna, Oscar winner, and now composer on the blockbuster Where the Crawdads Sing, based on the novel of the same name. Mychael, this story straddles multiple genres. It's romantic, it's a murder mystery thriller, it's a survivalist tale. So when you sign on to compose a critical element of the film's emotional narrative, where do you begin? In other words, does it matter what genre you're scoring when embarking on a project like this?
Yeah, you are exactly right, Robert. There's a lot of threads going here, and not only that, but it takes the arc of the story happens over a lifetime, from Kaya as a young girl to her literally, spoiler alert, old age and dying at the end. So yeah, there were four main threads in a sense. There's the murder mystery. There's the local social life, which is the people of the small town around the marsh where she lives. So the Americana instruments were what were used there. For the murder mystery, I used a kind of acoustic instruments that were manipulated in a kind of strange and mysterious way. Then we have this whole arc, as I said, of Kaya's life, a lot of different stages of life and emotions. And for that, the symphony orchestra was kind of the thing that tracked that. And then finally, in a sense, the main thing, the bed that all this lies in, which is the natural world, the world that is so beautifully photographed and set in the way that Olivia Newman, the director, shot this and framed everything. So that was something, that's kind of where the music starts and really ends, in that natural world, the world of the marsh, where the marsh is a place of life, of life and death. Although the swamp is really the part of the marsh that we kind of associate with the murder mystery and the death side of it. As you see, there's a lot of threads here, but yeah, the place that it did start was, and the thing that I saw immediately in the first cut was this natural world had to be the place that the music grew from, like vines, and kind of spread all over the story.
Yeah. I was trying to think of adjectives for the score, like, because it is quite organic, and I felt like some of it was even primordial, and it sounds weird, but when you listen to it, you understand, I guess, what I'm talking about. I'm fascinated by your decision to match some of the visual cues in the film to your instrumentation, the best example being the shells in Kaya's artwork and her collection. We see them throughout the film. Shells are very important to the narrative and to the plot. And it's just so wonderful when a composer can do that, when they can actually use that for the purposes of elevating the actual music itself. Talk us through what you were doing there and how, and the outcome, and how it does sound very organic.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There was this really fortuitous connection between the visual world, and especially we see Kaya, who grows up alone in the marsh, becomes her life, documenting it, drawing the shells, the birds, and so on. But specifically, the shells was the thing that caught my eye on the first screening. There's a lot of shots of shells themselves. A shell, in fact, plays a central part of the murder mystery, as a clue, as it were, and also just the beauty of them and the beauty of the drawing. So immediately I thought shells, and as many of us know, that's one of the earliest instruments that human beings ever used, blowing into shells, using them for percussive reasons. But yeah, I found this musician on the East Coast who collects conch shells and all kinds of different shells. He has a whole collection, and I worked with him to write this theme that became kind of the sound of the marsh. And because it's an ancient instrument, it sounds primordial and ancient, and which it is as an instrument, but it really sounds like the marsh, this beautiful, and people have asked me, well, what is that? Is that a voice? Is it a
Yeah.
woodwind? Is it a brass instrument? It's a seashell being blown. So, but that's also kind of cool that you don't know what it is, but it feels like the marsh that you're seeing.
Yeah. The marsh, it hides and it covers things from the past. And that's what this movie, a lot of it is about. I just love that connection. And you do that so beautifully with the score as well. The other great, really interesting element, of course, is the fact that this film is set in the Deep South. And any film that you wade into, part of the pun, you have certain expectations about the instruments that you're going to hear. So how did you honor the traditional musical elements of the South, but then of course make it your own?
Yeah, the Americana sound felt right so the Kaya grows up in the marsh that's close to this town in North Carolina, but she's separate from it. But she has interactions, awkward and alienating as they are, and indeed eventually is put on trial basically by her her local community. But yes, there certainly is a culture there, and so I wanted to go to Americana instruments. Banjo, I use auto harp, piano, fiddle. And I think I wanted a real folky sound to it. So I, rather than using really great musicians, I played most of those instruments myself. Wow. And no one plays banjo like me that would play it for money. So it's rough and folky sounding, but it's an old time banjo. It's catgut strings, not metal. So it's got a real funky sound. It's not really in tune. It's played badly, but that's the way I play. And same as the auto harp, which is a really fantastic instrument, just kind of throws the sparkle all over everything. And it feels like what you're seeing on screen, the earthiness of it, and also the kind of sparkle and beauty. So it really, those instruments married beautifully, and played in a crude kind of folky way by the composer. And as Emily was saying in her interview, there is something wonderful about going like straight from your heart right onto the instrument, as opposed to kind of having other people interpret it for you. So there is something, I mean, that's what we got into this for those moments. So there is something really fun and magical, and really connects the composer to the score by doing that.
I love how you describe, especially the banjo, because it does sound, I keep using the word organic. I can't really think of a better word for it. It's not, it's slightly rough around the edges, and it needs to be, right? It needs to really immerse us in that world, and it does it so beautifully. There's some tracks in particular that I really, really enjoyed. The opening track, as we watch the bird fly through the marshes, is haunting, with this haunting vocal overlay. And then of course,
yeah, that's the seashell. Exactly. That's the haunting is exactly the word for it. That's the sound that you're hearing through that opening.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that people weren't sure where it was coming from, because it just sounded so otherworldly and ethereal. The score then really peaks on the beach when Kaya is waiting for Tate to come back, and she's feeling abandoned. I just felt like that gorgeous rolling piano underpins the emotion of the scene and really shines. We don't really have much more time, Michael, but I'm just wondering, when you get to shine in moments like that, where the score really takes center stage, is it a feeling of apprehension? Are you excited? What's that like when you're doing a big movie like this?
I mean, it's different for every film. For whatever reason, I dialed right into this film. I've had many where I have had to be dragging, kicking, and screaming into the world. But this one, for whatever reason, I was just in it and rolling from the beginning, and I just loved writing for it. I think it just had an ease of flow. And so, yeah, and I think part of it is, yeah, I was playing like literally this piano right here on that cue. And yeah, it just I felt a connection to it for some reason, and so it was, yeah, it was with a sense of real enjoyment that I approached pretty much every scene in this film.
Yeah, and we, of course, as the viewer and listener, also went along for that journey. Mychael, thank you for your time today. We're going to bring you back shortly for our group chat.
Thank you.